Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at my favorite NHL logo. So I ranked all 32 NHL teams' logos, and we're going to go over my 10 favorite ones. So at the top of the rankings, we've got some pretty interesting teams. I don't think it's going to be all that surprising, but we're going to go over that today. So I'll go over just to show you guys the list overall. Here's the list for you guys. But obviously, we're going to focus on our top 10. So let me know what you guys think down below. What do you think of the rest of my list from 11 to 32? No bias here, of course, as you guys can kind of tell. My Islanders, the Ducks, not really even in the top half of the league in terms of their logos. But let's get into the top 10. So at number 10 is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now the Penguins, this one is a little bit biased because of their recent success. I think certain teams fall into that category. But I think Pittsburgh, when you think of that skating logo that they have, you think of Sidney Crosby, Malkin, Lemieux, Letang. There's a lot of Hall of Famers when you think of that logo. And it's a very basic logo, but I like how it has the hockey element to it. A lot of these logos are just a logo that any team in football or baseball could use. The Penguins logo is a penguin skating around. That's perfect. And it's a little bit intimidating, but not too crazy. It's a really good look. The color scheme of the black and gold is just perfect. And it just works. You know, it's one of those logos that's iconic, especially of recent memory, but this has been a logo that's been around for a very long time in different versions, but overall it's all the same premise. I really like that one. And number 9 is sort of a new one, back from 2018. The Vegas Golden Knights are at number 9. Now, what makes Vegas's logo charming is the fact that obviously the color scheme, right? It's kind of odd. You have the red, you have the gray, the black, and of course the infamous gold. But the Vegas Golden Knights logo is even more than that. They've got the coat of arms in the back, as well as the helmet. Now, if you guys don't know, the helmet itself there's actually a hidden message in the helmet. And it's in the shape of a V, obviously for Vegas. So I think that's a really nice touch. I like when teams go above and beyond with that. I think the Vegas Golden Knights hit it out of the park. You know, a very original design as well as the color scheme, and of course adding that little hidden touch. That's the stuff that makes the difference for me, and putting Vegas here at number 9. Now, number 8, San Jose. Some people would probably have San Jose lower on their list, but when you look at the significance and what the actual Sharks logo means, it might move up a little bit. So first things first, it's very similar to the Oakland Seals logo. They had the stick with the puck, and of course you have the seal itself. Kind of a weird looking logo, you know, when you actually look at it. You guys could look it up online. Kind of a weird logo, but it's kind of paying homage to that. You also have the teal and the black. I think that's a really nice look as well. Again, original design, very nice. And the triangle in the back. Now, if you guys are wondering what the significance of that's the that's the what is it? It's the triangle in San Francisco Bay, which is kind of a showing significance to the shark. It's a very big shark area. A hot spot for sharks is in the triangle. So that's what obviously the shark is in the triangle of the logo. You have the shark breaking the hockey stick, so a little bit menacing and intimidating. All those things really boosted my ranking of the Sharks. And to be honest, that triangle moved them into the top 10. Again, the color, just the original look to it. Again, most people would overlook something like that, but that's something that definitely is a nice look, and you also are paying homage to the Oakland Seals as well. I think that's a really, really nice look there for the Sharks. Now we're going to get here, I'm going to preface right off the bat, we're going to get into some very original Six logos, very old-fashioned, some are modernized, but basically the same look. And that's what we have here at number 7, the pinwheel in Boston. It's where we're gonna start. The Boston Bruins logo, super iconic logo. They've had it since their inception into the National Hockey League in some version or another. It was brought into another form, I believe it was 2007. 2008, somewhere around there in the mid-2000s, the Bruins are using that current design. They won a Stanley Cup with it in 2010. It's a really nice look for the Bruins, and is, again, the black and gold pinwheel is their classic look, and they've even, replicated it in their AHL affiliate with the Providence Bruins. Instead of it being a B, it's a P for Providence. So kind of a cool touch there. Again, a really nice logo that they really don't need to touch. I mean, you look at the legends in hockey that have worn that jersey, along the lines of guys like Bobby Orr. That is a jersey that is always going to be famous or infamous, depending on what side of the fence you were on. But the Boston Bruins logo is one of the best in the league. At number 6, again, kind of similar to that in that same vein, a logo that they've had since their inception in the league, and that's the Montreal Canadiens. The Montreal Canadiens, it's kind of difficult for them to think of the Canadiens in any other jersey, because that is their history. The jersey styles have changed and the striping and things like that have changed, but the logo has always stayed the same. And some could turn it around and make it look like a happy toilet, and that's definitely true. But overall, this logo is just classic. When you think of the National Hockey League, you know what this logo is. It's the Montreal Canadiens. It's a brand in itself in the National Hockey League, and that's why it is in the top 10. It's not necessarily in the top 5. It just sneaks out of that here at number 6. The Montreal Canadiens logo, it is hard to deny. It's just such an original concept, and there's nothing I would change about it. Number 5. So at number 5, we're going back to the original 6 here with the Detroit Red Wings, the winged wheel. So we're seeing the pinwheel in Boston and the winged wheel in Detroit. Now, obviously, if you know the significance to that logo in Detroit, Detroit is where Ford started their industrial factory. That was their first factory in Michigan. So that's why they have, the winged wheel. That's the significance to that. And that's why they're called Hockey Town, Motown, whatever you want to call it. Really nice logo. Again, you got the red, the white, very good colors colors that are easy on the eyes to look at. The significance to that one, again, kind of like the Bruins and the Canadiens, just the guys that have worn that logo on their crest. As recently as Nick Lidstrom, all the way back in the day, to some of the best like Gordie Howe have worn that crest. And that is, again, it definitely boosts them with where they're at. But that jersey, that logo is so iconic. And that's why they struggle with reverse retros, because it's hard to do anything to try and replicate that, because it's just so good already. You can't really do much better. And I think that's where the Red Wings are at right now. Maybe one day they'll modernize it in some form. But as of right now, it's a classic look, and I don't think Steve Yzerman or the ownership is looking to change it anytime soon. The Red Wings are at 5. Now, number 4, this wouldn't have been the case a couple years back, but the Arizona Coyotes and the reintroduction of the Kachina. Talking about a logo that you shouldn't have strayed away from, the Coyotes' original Kachina logo is a classic now. After 2 decades of, since its inception, the Kachina logo is back officially. The howling, crying coyote is officially on its way out, bringing back the Kachina. And this is a logo that is so peculiar and so odd that it has to get into our top 5. Some people may be very disappointed. Those 3 teams I just mentioned, 3 of the original 6, are behind this classic look, in my opinion. But the Kachina is just one for the ages. Again, it's probably a generational thing as well. I'm sure there are plenty of you that hate the Kachina. But the way it looks with the jersey and everything else, it's just such a nice look. I wish they had a little more success with that jersey, but it's a very nice look. And technically, some pretty good players have played in Arizona, right? If you want to think about it. Guys like Pavel Datsyuk, Chris Pronger have been a part of the organization. They may have never played a game for the Coyotes, but they were technically a part of the brand. So all kidding aside, I think that's a really nice logo. And again, it's one of those that it's a little bit different. I think that's why it moves up so much, because it's just so different than everything else you see across the league. Now we get into the top three. At number three is the Nashville Predators. So we're heading to Smashville here at number three. Yeah, Nashville just, again, this is a home run. You know, they redesigned the logo a couple years back and from their expansion logo, but it still looks great. This is a logo that just, even with a modern touch, a little bit more golden yellow, that mustardy color. Obviously having that navy blue in there as well. It's a great look for the Predators. They've had some success with that jersey, and the logo itself. Some really good hockey players have come through Nashville as well. This is one that is eventually, I think, going to become a classic that just the Predators never really stray away from. You know, I think that they tried to do that with their Stadium Series a couple years ago. But it's just not as good as this logo. This logo is iconic, and you know, eventually when a cup is won with this jersey and some Hall of Famers come into Nashville, it's going to be more of a brand in terms of hockey overall. But Nashville and the Predators are at number three. Number two is the Chicago Blackhawks. So this is kind of an infamous logo. Again, a lot of people have debated, should they change the name? Should they change the logo as, you know, maybe culturally insensitive to, what would you call them? I guess indigenous individuals. But the Blackhawks have kind of weathered that storm of everything and the PR. And this is a logo that, I mean, some can say is, you know, I think they did mean to, you know, try and give credit to the Native Americans when this logo was brought in. And this is a really nice, what's the word for it? Just a good way of showing that. It's a beautiful logo. Like, it's one of those logos that, you know, some may tarnish it, which is a shame, but this is one that really touches home when you talk about players that have worn this jersey. Phil Esposito, Bobby Hall. I mean, you know, these are guys that just, Brett Hall, I think it was Brett Hall. Obviously now Taze, Kane. I mean, you just talk about the legends that have come through that have worn that jersey and that logo on their crest. Again, it's kind of like some of these other ones where we've seen different, more modern looks to it. But it's just, you know, when you touch that jersey and you touch that crest, it gives you goosebumps. It's just such a moving logo, and it's kind of weird thinking of it philosophically, but it really is just that good of a look. It's such an icon in the National Hockey League, and even people that don't know about hockey, they know what that logo means. The Chicago Blackhawks, and it's just such a recognizable brand. So that's it for number two, and then that gets us to number one. And number one, the reason that I have number one where I do is two main reasons. So one is, well, there's three. There's really three reasons. One is a homage to a former team. Two, there's different ways to connotate this logo. When you look at the Blackhawks logo, you know it's the Blackhawk. There's no really interpretation there. Nashville, when you look at their logo, again, you know what it is. It's a Predator. Arizona, it could be a couple of different things. But Minnesota is different because if you could look at it so many different ways. So the first way is paying homage to the Minnesota North Stars, the former team that was in Minnesota. They ended up moving down to Dallas, and if the name sounds familiar, they took away the North and became the Dallas Stars. So when the Minnesota Wild came in, their new logo immediately paid homage to the North Stars. If you look at the logo, you're looking at I don't have it in front of me, but if you look at the logo itself, you've got the logo, you've got the Minnesota skyline, right? You've got the forest and the trees in the background, you've got some lakes. Well, if you interpret it a certain way, if looking to the left side of the logo, the Minnesota North Star is the eye of the quote-unquote wild, right? It's a bear, whatever it is. The river leads to the mouth, and then you have a bear. So not only do you have the skyline of Minnesota paying homage to geographically, you also have the homage to the North Stars, as well as the actual logo, which is like a wild bear. Again, just those are little details that go a long way, and people don't think much of that. And if you asked, again, it's a little different than, say, the Chicago Blackhawks logo or the Red Wings logo, where you could ask any fan and they would know what it is. that's the thing that makes this so unique, is you don't necessarily know what it is, but when you do figure it out, you really appreciate just how good of a logo it is. And the Minnesota Wild have tried to stray away from it, and it's impossible to. They've tried to do word mark jerseys as alternates and things like that, but this is the look. Like, you really can't stray away. What happens is when you get such a good logo, it's basically impossible to replace it. And that's where the Minnesota Wild are at. They're at the top of the heap. The green, the red, that creamy white color, like all those things, it just is such a nice looking jersey. And it's the jersey, the logo itself, it just screams original and just super creative. And once you understand, like, again, some of you may not have even known those details, but those are the little things, the hidden details of a jersey or a logo that make you realize, yeah, this is why it is so great. And the Minnesota Wild, again, credit to these other teams. Their logos are incredible as well. This was difficult to do, I have to be honest, especially when you get into the top 5, top 10. But just, when I think of the best logo in the NHL, I immediately look to the Minnesota Wild. And that's what I've got. So let me know what you guys think down below. What do you guys think of my current logos, my favorite NHL logos? Let me know your guys' top 10 in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.